In the dim light of a crumbling warehouse, with cold air leaking through bullet-scarred walls, a young woman named Mara knelt with her hands bound. Her captors stood around her in a half-circle, their rifles hanging loosely but their eyes fixed with grim certainty. She knew what was coming, they had made it clear, but when they asked her for her final wish, she didn't beg for freedom, nor for mercy. She asked for something so simple, it left even her captors momentarily silent. To see her dog one last time, a dog named Rook, the only piece of home she had left. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. For a moment, no one moved. A few of the men exchanged uncertain glances, as if unsure whether the request was foolish or strangely human. Mara's heart beat hard against her ribs, but not from fear of death, from the ache of knowing Rook might be wandering somewhere, waiting for a voice that never came. She remembered his muddy paws, the way he leaned against her legs whenever she was scared, and she wondered if he somehow sensed she was in danger now. The leader of the group, a hardened man whose face looked carved from stone, studied her with a gaze that held no mercy. Yet something flickered there, irritation, confusion, perhaps even doubt. They allowed her a moment alone, tying her to a post while they argued in harsh whispers. She heard every rise and fall of their voices, every sharp breath of frustration. Dust drifted in beams of sunlight cutting through the broken roof, and Mara closed her eyes, imagining Rook's warm fur beneath her shaking fingers. The warehouse smelled of rust and cold earth, but she tried to hold on to the faint memory of pine trees and his soft bark. She wondered if asking for this final wish made her weak or impossibly strong. Outside, a murmur rose, a distant bark, a bark she would know anywhere. Her eyes flew open. One of the guards cursed under his breath as the barking grew louder, urgent, desperate, echoing through the valley like a heartbeat accelerating toward its breaking point. The men scrambled, some lifting their rifles, others stepping back as if the sound itself carried danger. And then Rook appeared at the shattered doorway, thin but fierce, tail stiff, teeth bared, refusing to let fear claim him. The warehouse fell into a stunned silence. For one suspended moment, no one knew what was right or wrong. Should the men allow this final reunion? Should Mara be punished for wanting something so painfully human? The leader hesitated, and that hesitation cracked their control. Before anyone could react, shadows swept across the warehouse walls. A flash grenade clattered in. The explosion burst with white light, and then soldiers moved like a tide, coordinated, unstoppable, silent except for the relentless rhythm of boots and orders delivered with precision. They cut through the captors with tactical efficiency, tools striking doors and restraints in perfect unison. Mara blinked through the haze as a soldier knelt beside her, slicing the ropes, pulling her upright with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with the chaos around them. Rook leaped into her arms before she could speak, whimpering, pressing his face against her shoulder, as if afraid she would vanish if he let go. A wave of emotion swept over the watching soldiers. Some looked away, pretending they weren't moved, but the truth hung heavy in the air. A reunion shaped by desperation, loyalty, and love. As the captors were taken into custody, the leader glanced at Mara one last time, and in his stare was a question that would haunt him forever. How could something as small as a dog break the certainty of men who believed themselves unbreakable? Mara stepped into the sunlight with Rook beside her, each step a reminder that life could be stolen and returned in the same breath. She felt the warmth of the world again, the breeze stirring the dust into tiny galaxies around her ankles, and she understood something she had forgotten in the darkness. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And somewhere in the echo of that warehouse, she could still hear the first bark that saved her life. If this story moved you, tell me your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe for more stories like this. Your support helps these moments reach the hearts they're meant to touch. CTR line. If you want more true stories of courage, loyalty, and impossible survival, you're exactly where you need to be.